Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Skaven and the Empire here on the road to Talabheim. It's going to be myself with a massive Stormvermin brick facing off against the Steam Tank Commander with a very cool combined arms Empire force. So let's go ahead and break it down and see what's cooking. So in this patch, the Skaven did get buffed. One of the big buffs, of course, was the massive cost reduction on Stormvermin. So Stormvermin and Sword and Shield are now 850, and the Halberds are 950. So I think you're going to be seeing a lot of builds with Skaven, just kind of mixing them in, having these like armored walls that are, very different than what you used to see. It used to be Vermintide, where it's just all clan rats, a million units, and they could get mass routed and folded up pretty quickly in bad situations. But now with Stormvermin, maybe we're cooking with something here. It's kind of cool. So we got 2 shielded units, 2 halberds, a couple clan rats, and basic slave, or just some Skaven slaves in the front. Yeah, I don't think spears. The Jezzails are kind of an auto-take unit. I think that Natty Boo sharpshooters are almost an auto-take in every single matchup. They have snipes, so they can sit back and shoot at things without being seen and countershot by their long range. So really good against Empire, who sometimes does use Hawklins or artillery in this matchup, or Sunmaker, whatever. Having the Natty Boobos to be able to just hide from those and put pressure on your opponent, really, really good. So the Grey Seer of Ruin is amazing, or the Grey Seers in general. They have some really nice utility abilities. You do have the Bound to Scorch, which is really good against Empire. You can use this as a Scab Scraith to take down the State Troopers. You have the Unholy Clamor, which gives leadership and vigor per second. It's so good. Your whole army getting a leadership buff can change the tide, the momentum of fights, and it replenishes vigor, which is also quite awesome. Warpstorm Scroll is great because it locks down flying units like Boris Todbringer, and Warp Lightning is an awesome spell. 100% AP. You can use this on bunched up cavalry blobs, on guns, infantry, whatever. It's good against most things except SEs, obviously. And the coolest spell is the Dreaded 13th. So this summons a unit of Stormvermin halberds, but more importantly, it does a ton of damage when they pop up from the ground. So you can like one-shot like a handgunner, greatsword, whatever, any sort of unit like that. Now, one thing is, the build is a little bit weak against SE bullying, so in order to bring something that can fight against single entities, we do have a Packmaster. Packmaster he's a good rat. He tries his best. So he gets in there, he attacks, and with poison, a high melee attack, and 400 weapon strength, and a good charge bonus, incredibly fast with regen. He's a bit flimsy with his low leadership at 55, baseline, of course, but with proper micro, he can defend your lines and be a really good assassin. So that is it for my build. So for my opponent, he's got a bunch of State Troopers, some Halberds in the mix as well, Crossbowmen, and a Tank Commander with some Mortars. Now, Mortars against Skaven are actually not terrible. I often do use Mortar Wagons against Skaven, but these ones, they can do a surprising amount of damage against like Stormvermin or Clan Rat equivalents, because Stormvermin are so tightly packed that even though Mortars aren't quote-unquote AP, they still have a decent amount of armor piercing, and they can punish a Stormvermin unit that's kind of sitting in one spot or relatively locked in combat. So in the back, I'm going to be calling in more Stormvermin, really leaning into the plays. He does have a Life Wizard to heal up his Tank Commander, which makes a lot of sense. Pigeon Bombs is on the field. Pigeon Bombs is again, really good against Stormvermin. So Homie does have some options against him, but even still, bringing in like 5 to 8 Stormvermin is a lot of armor for your opponent to deal with. And if you look, his answers against the Vermin are the Master Engineer and a couple units of Mortars, and that's really it. So going Spec Ops in the woods over here, Wolfrat's going to be creeping around the back to try and get to his mortars. I did summon it around the same time I summoned another unit, so hoping you wouldn't notice it. Mortar's going to be shooting in just on auto fire into the Skaven slaves here, as the crossbows are now going to be unleashing from the Sons of Sigmar, and the Tank Commander going to be getting ready to roll dirty. So I'm going to be trying to do a full court press on him. With the Stormvermin, I think that's the way to do it. Jezzail's going to be opening up and pounding into the Master Engineer, getting some nice damage out of the gates, while some of the rats here do eat some crossbow fire. So the Skaven slave's going to be taken offline very, very quickly there, while the Jezzails continue shooting. Stormvermin moving in. Stormvermin also engaging against the Jade Wizard, who got a little bit crunk, and I'm going to be taking advantage of that, getting my Packmaster in and diving. But here you can see these Stormvermin do eat a mortar shot and take a little bit of DPS, or a cannon shot from the tank, I'm not sure. And the tank itself, of course, is a nice anti-infantry unit. It's got anti-infantry, I think, on melee and armor piercing, so it can do some work. So the Jade Wizard's going to be fine here. I do call in the Dreaded 13th spell, or I ring the bell. That's right, the Unholy Clamor is active. A couple of Skaven slaves going to be diving into my opponent's backfield while we do get the objective. And here they come. The bell has tolled 13 times, and from the earth they emerge, gnawing at the roots of the world. The Skaven do emerge from the pits, and you can see it basically just one-shots one of the Stormvermin. Now my opponent calling in some Pigeon Bombs there, and now the ambush is sprung. So the Wolfrat's going to be coming out from the trees, attacking into the mortars, and my opponent responds pretty quickly if memory serves. He calls out an Empire Cav unit and gets some work in there with that. So back in the fight, Steam Tank Commander getting chewed on by the Packmaster pretty effectively. And the Stormvermin, it's so weird having a Skaven front line that wins fights. It's just strange. Like here, we're winning this fight. Our Stormvermin are winning their fight against the State Troopers. Obviously, State Troopers are kind of low tier, so it makes sense. My opponent actually had some greatswords, so he was expecting some Stormvermin. Greatswords, as an Empire player, I would probably index into like 2 greatswords in my build now, with Skaven being so hard on for the Stormvermin, right? Master Engineer going to be getting a little bit of healing. Scorch is going to be activated from the Grey Seer, so that will come down and hit those guys. Not quite Scab Scraith, but it does some damage. That is honestly what Scab Scraith should do. It shouldn't do as much damage as it currently does. Natty Bubo Sharpshooter is going to be blasting into the Master Engineer and getting work done. My opponent's healing is quite good. It's making his troops very stalwart here. State Troopers holding the front while the Packmaster moves in, looking for them juicy terror routes, and we do get it right there. So that is another element of the Packmaster that's very good. It's just having a terror-causing unit. Steam Tank rolling and looking at the value trading in the backfield. I was able to get 1 mortar offline. My opponent calls in some Empire Knights and screens out with the Free Company Militia. So unfortunately, those Wolf Rats are going to get pounded and chased off the battlefield by the proud Sons of Sigmar. So good night, you are good doggies or rats or whatever the hell you are, man, bear, rat, pig thing. There they go. They are going to be gone and gone. So trying to get the side objective as well. We actually end up losing the fight because of the Greatswords. The Greatswords come into their floppy hats of doom and bully my Clan Rats. My opponent does get some Halberds over here, and the Halberds are going to be very, very excellent against the Rat Ogre. So good unit allocation from him. About 6k value and from him with healing included. So if I'm at like 6, he's probably like at, you know, I guess it's maybe I would say I still have a value lead of about 1,000 to 1,200, if not a little bit more. Hard to say. All right, so lightning going down on this side on the Halberdier, so it's going to be a bit of warp lightning action. Still holding on to the middle objective while the Packmaster continues chasing the Master Engineer. 1 mortar still online, and what is he targeting with it? He is actually going after some of the Skaves and Slaves in the back. So I think his game plan here, I noticed that he started doing some kind of split fire here. His mortars are trying to soften up this, so maybe he can split push me and take that side objective. Kind of looked like that was his game plan a little bit, but we do manage to route the front line here. You can see the Jade Wizard's going to be running, and the Stormvermin and the Ogres. It's a nasty little combo, man, and it's a front line that people are still getting used to. I've played a handful of games with Skaven. This is actually a ladder game. That's why the map looks a little bit different than the Total Tavern version, but yeah, the Stormvermin check is really, really quite good. I mean, there's some factions that won't care about it, but Empire for sure does. Because Empire's never loved dealing with a bunch of like armored front line units. Oh my god, you hear that sound there? What the hell was that? Hang on, let me zoom in again. Okay, it's fine now. That was weird. It was like a really like, sounded like something in the engine was falling apart. But the Packmaster bullying the tank commander a little bit. And we are pushing into the backfield pretty aggressively. The Stormvermin pressing, and the Stormvermin Halberds doing the same thing. A little bit shaken up, so most likely going to be broken. But we have a firm grip on Objective 1. Objective 2 is on our little rat clutches. And over here, still have not been able to get this one from the Empire, which has been tricky. And my Packmaster got bullied a little bit, diving too greedily and too deeply. My opponent's Pistolier is doing a great job against it. So I do pull the Packmaster in. I'm like, all right, let's just use this thing to take down the Greatswords. It's going to be good against them. Packmasters are armor-piercing generalists, so dealing with elite armored infantry is certainly going to be something in its wheelhouse, as it's getting pretty close to breaking down these Greatswords. They're losing models rapidly, and we are going to be sending in Clan Rats and Clan Rats right now to try and target this. My opponent gets a bit of a surround here, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a throw right now. His tank commander did survive. So what I ended up doing to get out of this is using my second charge of the dreaded 13th spell. So the rats emerge from the earth, the halberds come to protect the Grey Seer, which is very epic, and it does take about half health off the Armored Empire Knights. I think it has good AP values. Yeah, so it does. Yeah, look at that. It does have some decent AP. It looks like, let's read that. So the range damage, okay, but the explosive damage does not have good AP, but like the initial burst, like I think the center mass of it, I'm not quite sure how that works, but I think that's the case. So at this point, my opponent moving into the Reiksguard Knights. But I do have a couple Ogres who should be able to screen him out, and this damn Steam Tank Commander, man, I've sunk so much value into him. So I would say the game, I'm probably up by about 1,000 value, all things considered. Maybe 1,500, give or take. So the Ogres and the Stormvermin able to bully these Halberdiers off the point. Stormvermin are bullying the Spearmen. And as long as I could just take down the Greatswords, and Skaven are very good at killing elite infantry. They have a lot of targets for it. You use Death Runners, Rat Ogres, plenty of magic shooting, whatever. We do get the triple cap right there, ladies and gentlemen, and that is going to close out the game. So GG, well played. The Stormvermin thing is quite good. I'm trying to think what I would do against Empire with Skaven, because I played this matchup in a tournament a couple days ago. It was like right after the line, and I didn't know the Stormvermin had gotten like a big cost reduction. It definitely caught me off guard. Let's go do a little bit of that. Well played to Wookie Bear. I ran into him on ladder, I think 2 or 3 times, and we had some really good games. He's a solid player. Obviously, some inefficiencies in the build against the new kind of Stormvermin tech. I think the losing a mortar early on, the target priority on the mortars was a little bit off. They should have been sitting on Stormvermin the entire game. Crossbows against Skaven are not very good. You want to go Huntsman if you have the DLC, obviously. Huntsmen are just so good against Ogres, and their DPS isn't that much worse than a crossbow. Well, I guess crossbows will definitely do more against infantry bunches, but You use the Huntsman to just kill the Rat Ogres, and they have loose formation, so against some of the Skaven shooting, they're pretty resilient. But yeah, we'll break it down. GG, well played, and let's take a look at the tools here. 1,600, 2,000, Jezzails did good, and the Stormvermin just kind of did their thing. Yeah, 700 and 900 on that one. 600 here, still pretty healthy. Yeah, GG, well played, guys, and let's go take a look at a counter build. Or we'll scheme it up. We will scheme it up. All right, so we're here. You can see I was scheming some Nurgle action myself. Yes, I'm always scheming the Nurgle. Skaven. All right, there they are, the Shaven. So if I'm playing against Empire, if I'm playing against, we're looking for Empire. If I was playing against Skaven with their new meta, oh boy, am I gonna go for like a Hawkland build? It so depends on the map with Empire. That's the tricky thing, right? The tank commander isn't a bad choice. I'm legit thinking Balthazar Gelt. So Searing Doom and Final Transmutation, because Searing Doom will wreck Stormvermin bricks. Like, it's going to do a lot of damage. So then we could just do the Arcane Conduit. It's pretty cheap. I do like the Mortar Wagons. I think they're decent. You definitely still want some cheapo State Troopers in the front. But you're going to need something to deal, yeah. So if you're expecting like a big Stormvermin wall, how can you deal with them best? You have two options. Obviously, Greatswords. You could use some foot characters like the Witch Hunter, but he's only got it in his shooting, so probably not optimal, to be honest. Dealing with the damn Jezzails are annoying because of the fact that they do have the snipe. It makes it very tricky, but I think the Hawklands are actually quite good. So we could do like a triple Hawkland build, and then in order to counter any sort of shenanigans, so you need to scout with Balthazar Gelt, find them, and then, or do we go with a Deathcaster? Oh, that could actually work. But then you're giving up your tools against the Stormvermin. Balthazar Gelt's final... No, you know what? Maybe Elspeth is better. Because what we could do is we could do Spirit Leech and Buna. So we win the initial duel with Overcasted Spirit Leech and the Hawklands to win the range fight. We secure the range victory. Okay. And then to deal with the... I think the Blazing Sun Knights are one of my favorites here because they wreck Rat Ogres and they're pretty good against infantry too. Although you do need some baseline Empire Knights. Probably like something like this would be like a good cavalry corps. All right, so you have SEs on lock, Elspeth and the Hawklands. You might need something to deal with like a pack, like a brood horror type unit. So I think a couple Pistoliers, and you're not going to use them aggressively. Basically, you're going to use the Pistoliers to grab the objectives quickly, and secondly, to deal with a Packmaster character. And they can pressure objectives. You just use them as like a backfield sweeper, basically, right? The first thing you're going to want to call in probably will be a cav unit in this build. And I honestly think like a mortar wagon wouldn't be a bad idea. You just have it sit on a Stormvermin unit or any sort of a bunched up piece, like right out of the gates. So then from here, we're going to get 2 Greatswords to deal with the Stormvermin armor. Any sort of artillery we want to get. You could also throw in 1 cannon, but Hawklands kind of fill that role. It's a very cagey situation because... if the Skaven come into the catapult build, you could be in some danger with your Hawklands. They could have a bad time, and you don't really have any way of getting back there. Skaven are pretty good at defending their backfield against Empire stuff, at least. Free Company Militia are always welcome in reserve, and you're going to want grenade launchers all frickin' day. Arguably, maybe even 2 grenade launchers is going to be prudent against Skaven. And so we got the Free Company, we got these guys. A little bit light on capture weight. Do we want to get one more Empire Knight? You're going to be potentially dealing with back pressure too of like Guando rats moving in your backfield, like Eshin Triads, going for your Hawklands. But that's what the Pistoliers are for too, is just for like scouting and seeing if they're doing any of those type of shenanigans, right? You can also go something like this, get like a Huntsman in the build too, just to like have something to shoot at ogres. Death Timekeeper you want, Spirit Leech, Buna, Arcane Conduit, yeah, you want all those spells. You definitely do. So you can cut this, get 2 spear variants, and then for the rest of the build, we got about 900 left to spend. Oh, the Tattered Souls. Probably just 2 Free Company is going to be fine, or Free Company and what do we want to mix in here? Empire Captains are kind of fun, but I think you've got better choices. A little bit tricky. You can cut one of these and get a Zantler's Reichsguard Knight. Yeah, they're nice. They're really good with the Vanguard deployment. That's the build right there, and then 1 Swordsman. All right. I think this could work. It's a very, very finesse-based execution with this build, but it could work. It could work. You would play 1 objective. You wouldn't play wide. You basically would play 1 with your State Troopers and Hawkland the Jezzails down, And if they don't exist, you just annihilate you start annihilating the Stormvermin halberds. And when they're gone, you're able to use your cavalry to just kill everything else. And then Elspeth can Buna down those guys as well. And her Spirit Leech plus Pistolier should be enough to counter a lot of Skaven characters. So, all right, guys, GG, well played. Hopefully you enjoyed this game and the post-game breakdown, and we will see you all on the other side.